pleased to have with us and our guests, and this isn't like a typical combination. So in just a moment, I'm going to let Samantha set it up, but Samantha McDonald, who's a partner at Bowditch, a local and statewide law firm, and Marnie Weir, who is the Director of Education and Experience at Worcester Art Museum. And Samantha, as an attorney at Bowditch and Dewey who works in business and real estate, you had wanted to kind of have the art museum be a part of this, and maybe you could kind of set this up and why it's important to have an organization like the Art Museum here in Central Mass.
Absolutely. So I'm a recent corporator at the museum and always have been a fan of the museum, but recently, with all of the residential development that is taking place in the city, developers are well aware of the fact that people are moving to places where there is a robust civic life, including really outstanding cultural and art institutions and events. And I am thrilled that we have that here in Worcester. And so the Art Museum is just one of the many fabulous cultural institutions we have here. But Marnie's relatively new to the city, and I'm hoping that some of the changes and growth that the museum is experiencing is going to highlight to the developers that I work with how fabulous this place really is.
Well, that engagement's important, as we know from the economic development point of view. When developers and investors, they want to know that there's buildings, but people live in those buildings and they want experiences. And I know, Marnie, part of your new role is to really work and engage and bring people to the library, families and others. Maybe you can talk about that work.
Absolutely. I mean, the mission of the museum is connecting people, cultures, and communities through the experience of art. And so it's through the experience where my role really kicks in the way of educational opportunities, public programs. The opportunities are endless. There's so many creative ways and wonderful groups that already come to the museum, but that there's so much untapped potential as well.
Samantha, was just, we've seen some organizations start up recently, relatively new compared to the length of time that the Art Museum and the Chamber and Bowditch has been around. But you think of Powwow with the murals. You think of Start on the Street in Park Ave, and then the event they do during the winter months. All events that create a buzz, build on kind of the foundation of the arts and cultural community. But the Worcester Art Museum is internationally known. Thousands of visitors annually, and opportunities for people all across age groups, backgrounds to get involved.
That's right. Over 100,000 visitors come to the museum every year, and 57,000 or so of those are participating in educational programming, whether it's a public event or coming as a school group or listening to a lecture. So it's pivotal to being able to tap into the larger understanding of that story of the museum. And in fact, since, as you mentioned, historically, since the early 20th century, part of the museum's mission, we were one of the first art museums to combine a studio class and a studio experience with the visit to a museum, and that's something that's continued to this day. So,
right, and we see in all different sectors of the economy. It could be law firms, it could be technology companies, it could be retail, and it's in the nonprofit community, but consolidation, mergers, and things take place. And we know that the Worcester Art Museum was pretty instrumental in partnering and acquiring an incredible collection with the Higgins Armory, and that's kind of been a real focus and integration effort as well.
It really has. I mean, it's opened up so many opportunities for families and youth in particular. It's allowed us to pilot in our medieval gallery opportunities and interactives and hands-on experiences that appeal to both youth and families and adults, really. So it's been a really exciting launching off point for the entire museum.
And the popularity of Game of Thrones and stuff doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
People
Yeah.
want to see the armor and the battle gear.
Get on gear. Yeah.
I don't think we get to play with them quite like that, though, do we?
There are some interactives. Okay. Yes, you can touch armor in the galleries. So.
One of the things businesses need to bring in customers, museums want to bring visitors in, customers, supporters, corporators, supporters. And so you've always got to be thinking about ways to kind of engage the next generation. We've seen and concerns, and I think many of them legitimate, that as we've increased accountability standards in the schools, maybe there's less time on the arts and maybe in physical activity and things. So the Art Museum has been very proactive, and maybe this is born out of the whole studio pioneering initiative, but also in working with our young people, working with the Worcester Public Schools,
That's right.
letting them know what exists in their city, and hopefully exposing them to a level of creativity that maybe they would not be otherwise.
Absolutely, and sort of two things come to mind with that is that the Worcester Public Schools, as you mentioned, they've been coming, all 4th, 5th, or 6th graders have been coming to the museum as part of their curricula since the 1930s. So it's it's recognized as integral. I mean, there's decades of research that show that early engagement with art actually helps to support and grow that in future years. So we're really proud of that history and that relationship with the Worcester Public School System. One of our newer initiatives is with the Head Start program, and so just this past fall, any participant of the Worcester's Head Start program is coming to the museum. We're getting about 65 students a week, children from lower income families under the age of 5, to help prepare them for the world and to be able to have art and exposure to that and engagement, be a part of that early formation is critical. So.
Yeah, and people will say, how does some of that tie into the economy? And I oftentimes, or into the sectors of the economy, and with WPI, a neighbor of the Art Museum, and on the other side of Highland Street, Becker College, we have one of the largest concentrations of students majoring in video and digital gaming in North America. And that is now spawning new companies, and increasingly other companies are saying, what's going on in Worcester? Should we be a part of it? But one of the things, as I was educated on the whole video and digital gaming piece, yes, there's a computer element and programming, but there's a whole arts piece to this.
That's it.
That is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, we actually have we're in the midst of updating our computer lab this week as we speak, because of that formative baseline aspect that it all starts at the museum. It all starts with art. So,
Well, the games are visual, right? And so an exposure to a wide variety of visual art is critical to designing something beautiful that people want to work with.
Exactly. Spatial measurements, color, all of that is integral to it. Yep.
And so, Samantha, as a corporator, you've got some responsibilities here, right, to spread the word.
I do. One of the things that we also are is Bowditch is a business partner with the museum, and that is something that we've had a lot of fun with, and it's been a fabulous opportunity. We get a lot of benefits. People can come, our employees can go. We get to interact with the museum staff, which is fun. And it's just one of those benefits that I think employers may not realize is available, but is a reasonable thing that provides an employee benefit that benefits the employee, benefits the employer, benefits the community. It's a win-win-win.
And with that, Bob Cox, managing partner for Bowditch and Dewey, and someone who serves on our chamber executive board. But he was recently interviewed by the Business Journal. But as you try to recruit and bring younger talent into Bowditch, younger attorneys out of law school, part of that is not just knowing the law and kind of hunkering down and doing your research and advocating for your clients and representing them, but it's also partly being part of a community. And that's something you're trying to make sure people are as part of the culture.
It is part of the culture now. All of the older attorneys are, I think, an integral part of our community, and the younger attorneys that we both have and are trying to attract want a quality of life that involves organizations, cultural places, and people who value them. And it's critical to have this as part of our attraction.
Gotcha. Well, we want to thank Samantha McDonald, partner at Bowditch, for being with us and bringing Marnie along with you, and Marnie Weir, who's the Director of Education and Experience at the Worcester Art Museum. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Fairly new in the role,
yes,
but by, just based upon our interview, you're going to knock it out of the park.
It helps with collaborators like you guys. So